Hello everyone. In our previous video, we talked about how ChatGPT is solving any problems applied to it. I'm talking about lead code problems. In this video, we will check another capability of ChatGPT, which is to create a simple registration form, apply CSS to it, and run it locally as a ReactJs application. So without further delaying, let's frame requirement uh, to the tool. So I'll ask this tool to create a registration form in React using TypeScript. Also, I'll say that this form contains following fields: name, age, gender, email, password, and date of birth. And is there any other field that we are missing? So cool. Let's proceed with these many fields only. Also, I'll ask ChatGPT to use appropriate fields for inputs. Without delaying, it starts creating the form for us. Now, the reason I'm explaining this in this video is for the people who are who are trying to start afresh, who are a backend developer who don't know much of front end and who don't want to jump into syntax errors straight ahead. So, but they are aware of basic knowledge, like how things work in React.js apps. So they can use this tool to create a create a simple application or simple pages. And this video is for those people also who don't like to do this mundane work, the saturated work, like they don't want to create the UI again and again, or some boring work. So you can ask this AI tool to do it for you. Later you can tweak the generated response from this AI, like we will do in this tutorial. Okay, so what this tool has done is it has given us an example. In this example, it says that we use the user state hook to manage the form data and update the state when the user enters data into the form field. We also use the interface to define the shape of the form data object. Then we use the handle change function to update the state object. So it's basically giving us the basics of React.js, how React.js works. So if you dig deep into this particular UI, it creates a component, and this component nothing but a form. And on this form, it has a function written, handle submit, and it says that this is the generated log. Then in this form there are some labels that we asked this particular tool to create for us. These are name, age, gender, and other fields. So it has taken name, age, gender as a select field, then label for each input, then again label for email, and type is email. So it is using the appropriate types also. Then again it the password over here, it has used type as password. So it is smart enough to interpret our requirement and give us a working example. So if it is working or not, we can check it by by just copying this code and putting it in our application. Now for those who don't know how to use this particular page, for absolute beginners. So I can ask question again. So consider. So I'll say that. I'll say that I'll ask to tool to tell me how to use this particular page, or uh, I can ask create a React app for me, and so that I can use this registration form inside that code. So okay, so I'll ask how to create React app and how to use the above generated component in that app. So instead of this wrong spelling, yeah. So as an absolute beginner, I don't know how to create a React app, and how to use this particular form that I have created over here. I know that it has created a form for me, but I don't know how to use it. So I'll ask this tool to create it for me. See, if you Google this thing, or if you go to the documentation of React, you will see that these are the following steps. So ChatGPT will go to that particular documentation. It will put your, it will ask your question, it will frame your answer. So it will frame the step-by-step answer that is required. So it says that you should use this particular command to create the React app. You can change the name. Then you can start the application by calling this. Now this will be running at this particular location. This information you can get on any official documentation, on any tutorial, or any tutorial. So rather than going everywhere and searching for it, or going to the particular documentation and looking for it, you can directly ask this to ChatGPT. Now it says that it has very detailed answer for your question. It says that open the source folder in your app. So let's follow this step rather than talking. So I'll just copy this and use Visual Studio over here. Now I'll React basic app. So it has just created it. It is creating here now. We'll cd into that particular directory once it has created. Cd React basic app. See, if you see here on the left hand side, it has generated, this particular command has generated the code structure for us, and it has generated a readme.md. So and it has a source folder. Now let's go back to our let's go back to our chat window of the ChatGPT. It says that open source folder in your my app directory. Instead of my app, we have created a different name, React basic app. So create the new file called registrationform.txx. Now instead of creating the file directly, we'll follow a little different standard over here. We'll create a folder called component. We want to make this app extendable, so we will segregate the components, then we will segregate the files inside those components. So you can further go ahead and create a folder called registration component, and inside that registration component you can create the file registration form.tsx. tsx is depicting that it is a TypeScript file. Now if you see, it says that open the app.tsx file and folder, delete all the code in this inside this particular function, import the registration form component by calling this one, and registration form component inside the app, this one, return statement. So what we will do is, we have created the registration form, but we have not copied the content. So we will just go back to this one and copy the code and registration form over here. See, now if we dig into this file, we see that it has this particular file has been already exported. Now we just need to use it, and before using it, let's try to run this let's try to run this React app. So it says that npm start to run this particular app. Npm start. Now if you see, so it is giving us the learn React page, which is the default page of create React app generated a React app. But we are more interested in the registration form. We have copied the content of registration form, but we have not replaced the content of app.tsx. So what we will do is, we will just copy the code from here and go to the app file and just replace it here. Now this particular location is not correct, so we will import it again. Now this is the correct one. Now if I reload this page, I see that there is some error. Now what does this error is? It says that it is not able to resolve this particular component. So see, now if you see here, the registration form is imported, and instead of a default React page, the registration form what we have created is generated over here. Now if I open the console here and show you the logs, so a b c d something, age, gender, name, abc@123.com, password something, date picker as date of birth, this one. So see, it says that it has generated this particular JSON, the log. Now we can take the help of ChatGPT to do something extra also. So let's say that apply CSS for above generated registration form. So it is generating the it is generating the whole code again for you. So see, if you see closely over here, class name, so it is a CSS class name. Now we are more interested in the CSS, the content of this particular class, the CSS class. So it is generating the whole code again. Instead of generating the whole code, you can simply ask for CSS file and you can write it on your own. But even if it is generating, there is no harm in it. Sometimes what happens is, it creates it while regenerating, it might rename few of the fields that you have already used. So in that case, what you can do is, you can go through the error. Let's say today you have generated in your first question, it has generated something for you, but in the second question it has regenerated the whole response. There might be a possibility that the name of any of the field has, or id of any of the field has been changed. So what you can do is you can simply find out through the console logs, and you can correct it. So that is not tough. So yeah, so what happens here is it has stopped here. Okay, so I'll ask css I'll ask ChatGPT to regenerate css file only. So it might have misunderstood my question, but I just wanted to regenerate the css. So I'll ask it again, regenerate above response and consider writing regenerate above response for css file only. Okay, let me rephrase the question. Write a css file for above registration form. Cool. Now it is generating just the css file. So we will let this particular tool generate the css, then we will use the css and apply it. See, it is also saying that how you can use it. So without delay, let's copy this code and cool. Now I have copied the content of css generated. Now I have to use it here. So I'll just import So if you check back the response, the css is not applied yet, because for those who do not know, we have to write the class names over here. So instead of going and changing the class name for every component over here, I'll just try to copy the content from here and yeah, I'll just copy the return from here for now. Cool. If you see here, it has applied the css now. Earlier the view was something in the single line. Now after applying the css, you can see that it is a little beautified. So now let's talk about second thing. So many times we get certain requirement that here is a particular JSON and create a HTML page for it. So that also, it's kind of reverse engineering. You can do that also. So what I'll do is I'll just create a simple CSS, a simple JSON. So I can use any JSON, or I can simply create a new JSON. No worries. Yeah. So for reference, let's take the example of name, let's say ABC, and email, abc@123.com, password, similarly age 10. Now let's play with this much only. So I'll just copy this and go back to the tool and say ask this tool to generate an HTML ReactJs page from following JSON. So if you can see here, the tool is smart enough to pick up your requirements. So it will do the reverse engineering also. So you supply JSON and it will create React pages for you. And even if you don't have the JSON, you just give it a field, certain field, it will create certain fields. It will use these fields to create the form for you. So again, this tutorial is for those who this particular video is for those who are just starting React.js app and want some help. So they can take the free tier of this tool and ask their question to create applications for them, create simple pages for them. And wherever they are stuck, they can go through the description that ChatGPT has given over here. It has explained pretty well. And after even if you have silly doubts, you can ask ChatGPT. And if you're not clear, then you can go to the Google and ask those questions into the forums. But I'm sure this tool will help you getting started with React.js. So if you see the code, it is simple, this code. Yeah. So one more complex example I want to show. Okay, so let's say I want the JSON generated out of it. So what I felt is I could not simply copy directly from here. So I could not copy the JSON from here. I had to write it. So I thought that let's write the syntax over here. So instead of generating the log, it will give me a .json file. So I'll ask ChatGPT to so rewrite on submit method in first response where is where instead of logging the form data generate and download JSON out of it. See, it has generated code for downloading JSON. So we will copy whatever is required and we'll see how uh, it is helpful for us. So instead of data, I'll just do it form data. So I have JSON, application JSON, it has created a URL, then element, then download link, then cool. It has compiled successfully also. Now I'll just simply give some data. See, if you see here, it has generated a registration data. Now let's verify what it has generated. And if you see the raw, it has given me a JSON file. So pretty cool. You can use this tool for any requirement that comes across to you. I'm sure that you will get a certain hint that you can get started with. So that's all for now for this tutorial or this video, and I'll come up with something else next time. Thank you very much for watching.